Hello guys and welcome back to yet another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at an Apple MacBook Pro that I got off of eBay for $50. It's sold as for parts and not working, but it looks as if it just needs a fresh install of macOS. Hopefully there's not too much more we've got to do to it. Anyway, I've got the package in the next room. Let's open it up. As far as I know, adding fragile packaging tape doesn't actually mean the post people are going to take more care while handling it. Inside the box we've got the laptop wrapped in some bubble wrap, and no charger. The seller didn't say it wasn't going to come with one. Oh well. At the very least, they did include a bag. However, I would still prefer a charger though. Unzipping the bag, we get our first look at the 13-inch MacBook. It's good to see that the hinge is solid with next to no wobbling. Around the laptop, there are a few cosmetic issues. It's clearly been dropped on the corner, there are some decent scratches, somehow there's a dent next to the battery indicator, and the screen is absolutely filthy. That's something we can definitely change though. Overall, I've seen much worse. I'll reserve final judgment until we can see what it's like inside. Thankfully, it booted into my installer USB without any problems. In the disk utility, it detected a 250GB Hitachi hard disk, which I believe is what this model originally came with. A short time later, the installation was complete. It's got the base 4GB of RAM and a very high battery cycle count of 1038. I'm very curious to see what it's like inside this machine. There are 10 Phillips head screws that hold the back cover on. At first glance it looks a bit dusty, however not too bad. The battery is missing the removal sticker, so I think it's been replaced. Oh, this metal piece is supposed to be attached to the bottom case and must have broken off. To begin the disassembly, I unplug the battery, which is held in place by two tri-wing screws. The original 250GB 5400 RPM drive is coming out and I'm replacing it with a cheap SSD. The fan is next to come out. It's held in place by three Phillips head screws. Oh my, that is a lot of dust. Now that's some good airflow. Now that is one very dusty exhaust vent, and it also looks like that there's cat hair in there, but I've got a bit of a theory. The eBay seller's username had the word cat in it, so there's a good chance that they actually owned a cat, so we can guarantee that this is cat hair. With the bulk of the cat hair and dust removed, I began taking out the logic board. Unlike newer models, the board is held in place with Phillips head screws. After dislodging the microphone, the board came out quite easily. The other side has a bit of dust on it as well. When I say a little, I mean a lot. I really don't understand how it could get this much dust inside here. Before we see just how bad that thermal paste is, I'd like to tell you that today's video is sponsored by NordVPN. NordVPN is an award-winning virtual private network with super fast servers that allow your device to tunnel through and appear as if it's in another country or region. This is especially useful here in Australia as our Netflix kinda sucks, but with the simple push of a button, NordVPN encrypts my internet traffic and now I can access the far superior American Netflix. There are many more advantages to using Nord, such as protecting your data while using public Wi-Fi in places such as coffee shops and airports. Their app is easy to use and simple to download. It's available on Windows, Mac, Linux, iOS, as well as Android. Your subscription includes 24/7 customer support, unlimited bandwidth, and also very importantly, an automatic kill switch. This makes sure no unwanted internet traffic can connect to your device without the VPN running. Get 70% off NordVPN using my link nordvpn.com/Psivewri or the coupon code Psivewri. With this offer, it works out to be $3.49 per month, and you get an additional month for free. With the heatsink off, I can see that this machine is in dire need of a repasting. To clear away the dust, I used a brush. Simply blowing it with air wouldn't be that effective, as there was definitely some moisture that was clumping it all together. While I've got the vacuum here, I thought I would dust out the other components as well. This MacBook must have been used very heavily for its entire life. I'm really surprised that the original mechanical hard disk didn't fail. Now, my favorite part of any video, removing the old crusty thermal paste. Isopropyl alcohol is great for getting the processor dies nice and clean. The paste on the heatsink was just as crusty. I have a strong feeling that this wasn't dissipating a lot of heat away from the CPU. Arctic MX4 is my thermal paste of choice. I can say with quite a bit of certainty that this laptop will run significantly cooler now. With the heatsink screwed back on, I decided to clean out the case a little bit more. A toothbrush proved very useful for getting into all those hard to reach places. Underneath and around the optical drive there was quite a bit more dust. To make sure that the hinge screws stay nice and tight, I applied a small amount of threadlocker. It's kind of like glue, but specifically designed for keeping screws in place. I repeated this with the hinge on the other side. Quite a bit of gunk tends to build up around the edge of the casing. A Q-tip doused in methylated spirits makes short work of it though. As stated in the eBay ad, the trackpad had some trouble clicking. I solved this by adjusting the Torx T6 screw on the underside of the trackpad. I thought it was time to remove all of the grime that had built up around the portholes on the side. I reattached the metal air vent to the bottom of the case using some cheap super glue. I left the screws in place to make sure that I was lining everything up correctly. Swapping out the original hard disk was as easy as removing 4 Torx T6 screws. The reassembly can now begin. The insides of this machine definitely look a whole lot cleaner now. I should hope so since I've spent quite a bit of time working on it. As a finishing touch, I added a set of new rubber feet. These can be bought online for under $5. Now that we've got it back together, I think it's time we give it a much needed cleaning, starting things off with a bit of eucalyptus oil. A laptop can be quite an unhygienic thing. As I often say, definitely clean any secondhand electronics that you buy. I used a Q-tip to remove hard to reach grime from between the keycaps. I don't think the screen had ever been cleaned before. Using a damp paper towel followed up by a microfiber cloth and some lens cleaner got the display looking a whole lot nicer. Turning the laptop on, it thankfully still seemed to work. I must have had Windows 10 installed on the drive as it tried to boot to it. A short time later the installer loaded. I formatted the SSD and began the installation. 20 minutes later we've got a much improved MacBook Pro. As far as condition goes, it's nearly spotless. It has a few dents and scratches here and there, but it definitely looks better. It's time to try and use this 11-year-old machine. Since macOS won't start ramping up the fan speeds until the processor gets really hot, I've installed an app that allows you to control it manually. About 5500 RPM should keep it relatively cool even under full load. Checking the battery using an app called Coconut Battery reveals it has an impressive 88.2% health, which is crazy for a battery with over 1000 cycles. With a manufacture date of August 2013, it seems to be a replacement. As I thought before, this is actually a replacement battery, and even that has over 1000 cycles, so the previous owner definitely got their money's worth. The first game we're testing is Minecraft. With Optifine installed and the render distance set to 8, it's getting frame rates between 30 and 40. This is quite playable. The Nvidia GeForce 9400M really struggled in the Unigine Heaven benchmark. A score of 190 and a max frame rate of 12.1 isn't too surprising. It also struggled in Cinebench R15, scoring 5 FPS on the OpenGL test, and the CPU only managed a score of 135. In the game Terraria, this MacBook achieved frame rates between 20 and 30. Not amazing, but I'd definitely say it's playable. A game that it really struggled with was Team Fortress 2. At the native resolution of 1280 by 800, low settings, it was quite choppy. Something else that's quite choppy is my Adamant Scimitar in old school RuneScape. This is an old game that runs great on this system. Hello guys and welcome. Last of all, we're trying some full HD YouTube playback. This runs absolutely great, no stuttering or dropped frames. This laptop is also decent for typing. The keyboard on this machine has a decent amount of travel and clickiness. So there we have an Apple MacBook that cost $50 restored to its mostly former glory. There are still some small cosmetic issues, but for the most part I've definitely cleaned it up and it's a whole lot more sanitary to use now. Cleaning out all that dust definitely makes the thermal performance slightly better, although without a fan control app in macOS, it'll run hot no matter what, so I definitely recommend getting that app. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you've liked this video, feel free to leave a like, and if you want to see more, definitely consider subscribing. I'll have a new video out to you next week. Anyway, I'll see you then.